everyone, PushingUpRoses here. Today I'm going to be taking a look at a new indie adventure game called Oxenfree, which was released on January 14th. This game is described as a supernatural thriller. After watching the trailer, I was immediately impressed by the art and overall aesthetic, and very interested in the concept. You play a character named Alex, who is sporting some lovely teal hair, which is, in my humble opinion, one of the best colors for hair, and you and a small group of friends decide to spend the night at Edward's Island, which everyone quickly finds out is inhabited by ghosts.
Listen.
Bobtail.
Shave.
Tail.
Sleepy. Time. Now. Is possible.
The reason I was so initially enticed by this title is that it was giving me some Agatha Christie-inspired vibes. I really like stories that involve a small group of people stranded in a remote area, such as the mansion on the island in And Then There Were None, or in the Line-Decker Museum in The Dagger of Amon-Ra, or even the research station in the adventure game Enclosure. There's just something compelling about being trapped somewhere unfamiliar or eerie with just a few other people. And then when you introduce a paranormal aspect or some kind of threat, that, my friends, is an algebraic equation for success. Remote location plus a few people divided by a threat of some kind equals suspenseful thriller. Based on my rudimentary mathematical solution, I figured Oxenfree would be a game I could easily fall in love with. But let's just say love is a strong word, and I'm not ready for that kind of commitment. I would say I fell in like with this game, but not in love. It's like when you see someone cute and automatically you have some insane infatuation towards them, all because they have blonde hair and blue eyes. And then you get to know that person and they turn out to be really bland. Well, Oxenfree wasn't quite bland. It was actually almost something I really liked, but it was just on that cusp. There was something missing that didn't push me over the puppy crush phase. I want to start out by telling you everything I favored about this game first, because, let's just start with the happy stuff and then end on a shitty note. For an indie title, this game has really good voice acting.
We started a fire down the way, but Nona wanted to play Beach Nanny, so...
Yeah. Everyone, this is Jonas. Jonas? Everyone.
Hey.
Hi.
And Jonas, that's...
Who are you again?
Jonas.
I can't say I was a fan of the written dialogue itself, but the voice acting for each character was actually very good, and that's an important thing to have when your game is dialogue heavy. As I said before, the game looks great. I was truly impressed by how gorgeous and detailed all the places on the map really are. I highly enjoyed the location for this game, and I found it mysterious and creepy, and I really liked exploring. The characters are pretty small on screen, as you can see, and you're looking at large settings from a distance, but despite that, the characters do look good and their animations are of great quality. Nothing appears sloppy, and everything has a nice artistic flow. The music also sets the mood perfectly, ranging from eerie ambience to simplistic little tunes that never distract from the gameplay or the voice acting. The gameplay mechanics themselves are really interesting, and I waffle between loving them and feeling like they're slightly irritating. Let me give you some context here so I can explain how the gameplay works. When you and your friends get to the island, you enter a cave, tune a radio that Alex's friend Ren told her to bring, and it opens up a rift that leads to a poltergeist haunting and sometimes possessing people.
We are an island race, and through all our times the sea has ruled our breaks.
Ah, poltergeists. Gotta love those scheming pranksters. Poltergeist, if you didn't know, is German for rumbling ghost. Poltern means to rumble or to make a sound, and geist translates to spirit or ghost. It's very rare that you see a poltergeist. Historically, they're known more for causing disturbances, like levitating items and throwing them across rooms, opening doors or windows, and in general, just being noisy and bothersome. This game depicts the ghosts as possessing the characters and using them as puppets to communicate through them, which isn't a thing poltergeists are usually known for, but whatever, it works. Besides, there was an incident back in 1949 where a boy named Robbie Mannheim claimed he was possessed by one after using a Ouija board. Typically though, human possession isn't as commonly documented as moving objects and making noises regarding the poltergeist. Woo! Tangent! Alright, back to the game. To communicate with these ghosts, you can tune into certain areas using a radio. At first, I really liked this mechanic. The radio is really the only thing you use frequently in the game to figure things out, like tuning into points where you can hear important tidbits, and then later in the game using it to unlock doors. It was a really cool mechanic at first, but after finding the second radio, which has about 100 channels on it, it became rather dull and monotonous, especially when I didn't know which station to tune into to do something, and I found myself scrolling back and forth multiple times just to find it. It got old kinda quick, and near the end of the game I no longer enjoyed using the radio. A mechanic I did really like is the ability to choose how Alex responds to dialogue trees, which does impact the game and how your characters evolve.
Yeah, Ren, about Nona.
What? Did she say anything? Because if she said anything, you should tell me. Like,
I think you should go for it.
And not only are you able to choose between these options, you can also talk to other characters while you're exploring. This was a brilliant move to me. Because I'm exploring a setting, the dialogue doesn't seem sluggish. I'm not just sitting there stuck listening to dialogue. I can actually continue to my location while going through it. That way the dialogue doesn't become tiring and it flows very well, and it keeps me occupied during my exploration. Sometimes the characters cut each other off, which I found kind of weird, but I did like this mechanic overall. Oxenfree also has some really cool visual effects. They work really well with this game. The VCR screen warp specifically was done really well, and the possession and time loop scenes are perfectly weird.
what's wrong with Ren?
He drowned.
Wait a minute, Ren drowned? Like Ben drowned? So yeah, this title has a lot of pros, especially when it comes to quality. A few redundant things here and there, but looking at the big picture, it's crafted very well. So with all this delicious eye candy, why didn't Oxenfree result in a full-on femboner? Well, I wasn't stimulated by the story, to be honest. Maybe this just isn't a game targeted towards me, but I can't relate to these characters who are teenagers with a lot of drama. Some of them have serious problems, but I can honestly say I don't want to listen to characters bitch at each other for long spans of time. The voice acting is really good, but the scripting itself is a little annoying, so I had a hard time empathizing. Again, it could be because I'm not a teenager anymore, so teenagers by their very nature annoy the piss out of me. As I said previously, the radio mechanic is overused, and because it's really the only thing that contributes puzzles to the game, it also becomes annoying. In terms of being a suspense-driven thriller, it does an okay job on that. I wouldn't call it scary, but there were some legitimately creepy moments, maybe a couple startle scares here and there. Once you experience these startles, however, they lose their effect. The story is adequate, if not a little hard to comprehend. You can find out more about the story by finding letters on the island left behind by a deceased woman who is trying to fix the rift herself.
How many officers died in the sinking of the USS Kanaloa?
The story also describes a submarine explosion which killed its crew, and the ghosts you are communicating with via your radio were the victims of that tragedy wanting justice. I think because I wasn't terribly taken by the characters, I cared less about the story. I didn't dislike it though. Like I said, for me, it was just on that edge of being something really amazing. A lot of people compare Oxenfree to Life is Strange, and I would say that's a good comparison. Your choices reflect the game's ending, in which there are multiple, and I think it's fairly obvious that this game has an intention to challenge the player. I can see this game spawning a lot of theory videos because it's very easy to want to dissect the story and the ghost's intent. It is meant to be played multiple times so you can find new things and try different scenarios. My first playthrough took about 7.5 hours. It runs for about $20 on Steam, which some people say is too steep for the 7 to 8 hours, but to be very honest with you, I find it incredibly difficult to judge prices based on time spent. It doesn't make too much sense to me. I mean, we pay $11 to see a 2-hour movie, right? Sometimes an hour and a half, and we don't get to take it home, and to get another theater experience you pay another $11. Unlike an interactive experience like a game in which you can keep and replay. Some movies I like and some I hate, and it has little to do with how long it was and everything to do with the quality. I would say $20 is just a little steep. Just based on quality alone, I would say it's fair, but I do wish it were more around the $15 price point based on the kind of gameplay I got. Keep in mind, the majority of people do like this game a whole lot, so this is clearly a personal taste deal. I still recommend it because I did like it. I think people who liked Life is Strange will also like Oxenfree, though personally, I did find Life is Strange more engaging. And now I shall leave you with Ren. He talks a lot. A lot. Enjoy.
Okay, speed read definition of Edwards Island. This is a tourist trap with shops and a beach. Nobody lives here except for some geriatric named Mrs. Adler. But, as God is my witness, we'll never mention her or any other old person's name again. We are here to drink and be stupid, a tradition apparently started by bored recruits in the 1950s who would sneak...
Hey everyone, thanks for watching my review on Oxenfree. If you want to see another review, I have one linked in the annotations called That Dragon Cancer. Probably want to get a tissue box ready for that one before you watch. If you want to talk about Agatha Christie, hit me up on my social networks, and if you want to support me in a non-emotional, monetary sense, I also have a Patreon campaign. Thanks again, and see you guys in the next one.